I'm not the one who has to check the homework and make sure they brush their teeth, all those types of things, but realizing that there's a special role for everybody and still being intentional about not resenting the relationship that someone else has, but as co-parents saying, what are the things that I want to focus on? What's most important? Because the children, I always joke because I say the Bible says to train up a child in the way that he should go. So eventually they're going to go, right? They're going to go. They're going to go out of the house. That's the plan. But there is a limited amount of time. What are those messages that we want our children to hear from us?
Yes.
Whether they were in the home or not. What are some things? Because I can go back and look and say, I remember some things my mom said to me. I can remember things that my dad, some words, seeds of importance that they planted in me. So I need to be intentional, so when my son 10 years from now looks back, I want him to have mom's voice that says, you can do anything you put your mind to. You're amazing. I want them to hear those words. What are those? I don't want them just to hear, you better clean your room. Now, I still say that. Don't get me wrong. You better clean your room. And my husband's going to remind him to be on time for everything because he's the timely person. But right. What are those messages, the things that we need to be intentional and strategic to plant in our children through our communication? I think all parents, we want to think about that on a regular basis and make sure we're doing that. No matter if our children are 5 or 15, they're going to hear us. They're going to remember these things.
And in line with what you're saying, so now my children, I remember the day. I remember how I felt. They came to visit me, and in my mind, I was like, these are not children anymore. They're teenagers. Like, literally, I had that thought in my head. Like, they're growing up.
They're looking at you eye to eye now, in your face. They tall. Oh, yeah, my son got some bass in his voice now. I'm like, what happened to you? Where'd that come from?
But, so to support what you said, I like watching Parenthood taught me, and Father of the Bride. I need to learn how to grow up with my children. Because in Father of the Bride, he's sitting across the table, and the daughter is like a little girl, but in actuality, she's an adult. But he sees her as a little girl, and I learned from that. I need to grow up with my children. So, what to say? Strategic communication came out, this concept of strategic communication came out of learning how to plan what I was going to say, but also because they were getting ready to go to college, the next thought was I had to literally say to them, everything you learn is not going to be learned from the couch.
Okay.
As much as I want to be able to give you all the tools and strategies, everything you learn is not going to be learned from the couch. That was also my way of learning how to let go. Because I'm not going to be with them now every day. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to worry about what's going to happen. But at the same time, there are lessons in life that they will just simply not learn from me sitting on a couch with them and talking. Yeah. And to give you an example, so when my son had his first real heartbreak and breakup, it was at the end of his high school year, and he talked about it, so it's nothing, tragic. But I said to him, so would you rather it happen in your first year on campus, and now you're stressing over that while trying to learn? Or would you rather it happen now, while you are getting ready to go to college? So instead of holding his hand to kind of misery loves company kind of thing, he had to actually do a research paper on resiliency. He had to do a research paper on grief. And he had to do a research paper on closure. And that's how I taught him how to deal with breakup. Because at this point, he's loving how to write.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, you give your children homework. You know what? There's nothing more. All right, Mr. Jones, I don't know about this. You tell me, give me.
Now, let me help you understand homework. He was getting ready for college. So he had to learn how to write essay papers.
Okay.
So instead of just telling him to write an essay paper, I made the content relatable to what he was going through. And so, hey, you want to learn how to deal with a breakup in a relationship? Write an essay on resiliency and what it means.
We're going to have to do a show on children who have teachers for parents. Because the struggle is real for them too, because they know we turn anything into an assignment real quick.
But he cites that was one of the reasons that helped him to be able to get through it. Now, I only use that strategy because at this point, he's saying he wants to learn how to write. Mm-hmm. So I figured instead of me sitting down on the couch with him and saying, look, this is what resiliency is. No, I wanted to put it in his hands and teach him how to now research a problem he's having and figure out how to deal with it.
And your son is a published author, so your strategies are working. Right? That's exactly what's happening with that love to write. We're getting ready to close now, and I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you have something for this. But if you had to give parents a quick piece of advice as we close when it comes to dealing with, children, whatever age around some of this topic we're talking about, what would be that one piece of advice you would share?
Focus on what matters most to you as a parent that mm-hmm. you want to leave with your child.
Okay.
For me, it was communication. Mm-hmm. Because the understanding, right, is that all relationships, like communication, is essential to all healthy relationships. Okay. But not just me talking with my child, learning how to listen and understand them, and then teaching them how to verbalize and communicate thoughts, feelings, opinions, being comfortable and confident to talk. So as a parent, I would say, what is important to you to leave with your child? If you could no longer be present with them, what is the one thing you want to give them that you feel like, okay, if they have this, they'll be okay, whether I'm in their life or not? And then begin to cultivate that in your interaction with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And for me, I hear that because the communication is so important and being able to be intentional about what we want to say for them. For me, I think of James Baldwin, who said, children may not always listen to their elders, but they never fail to imitate them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm real big on one of the best gifts you can give your children is a good example. Mm. And, it's easy to look into the world, government, a lot of places, and see some people who are not necessarily great examples and worry about the impact that they have on your children. To me, I think that makes it even more important. I know my husband and I have had this conversation about, what example are we providing for our children? Right here in front. Yes, you may see a lot of other things in this world, and again, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes and stuff like that, but I'm real intentional about saying, what do they see in me? Mm-hmm. I want this because I do that, that resonates with me and my parents. My parents set such a great example for me and my siblings. I want to be able to do the same thing for my children. That doesn't mean anybody's perfect, like I said, but to be able to say, no, I saw how my mom handled this. I saw how my dad dealt with this. Even when things weren't great, I saw how they did that. And I think that seed really is important for our children to see. So this has been a good conversation, Cortland, as we all always enjoy having this conversation with you here on Village Talk. I'm sorry to see this come to an end. We're going to have to revisit this again.
And I was enjoying what you were saying about being the example. And so it's always a privilege and pleasure to share this time with you, this platform. And so anything else you want to add before we go?
I do want to encourage our listeners. We are here for you because this is a Village Talk. If you have some comments, some questions, whether you're listening to this live or the replay, please tap in the comments. We'd love to be able to hear your comments. And if you have other ideas of what you'd like us to talk about on Village Talk, we definitely would love to hear from you because we are Village Talk, highlighting the voices and views of the community. Cortland, you want to bring it home for us?
Yes, we want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, we want to thank Vision and Purpose Magazine, Magazine. We want to thank Karen McConnell-Jones and Dr. Sharon Porter for sharing this platform, allowing us to be able to do our presentations bi-weekly. We appreciate it. Second and fourth Sunday, always at 4 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen. Village Talk, highlighting the voices and views of the community.
Thank you for joining Village Talk Podcast with hosts Cortland Jones and Shauna Felton King. Village Talk is a VMP media production. Join us every second and fourth Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a new episode. Village Talk, highlighting the views and voices of the community.